Hello, mysterious person behind the screen, and welcome back to another audio commentary with me and Isaac.
Thank the Lord for Superman.
And today we are doing Superman 3,
Mm-hmm.
continuing our series of Superman audio commentaries. So, without further ado...
If you'd like to sync this up with the Blu-ray copy of Superman 3, put the film to the start and press play in 3, 2, 1, go.
So, Superman 3, the first one began with this, classic opening title sequence, welcoming us into the world of Superman. The second one began with an awesome starfield in space, recapping the events of the last one. And the third one begins in the Dole office. Which kind of sums it up, this film, really.
Well, I can't wait for James Gunn's Superman to open in a DMV.
At this rate, yeah. Imagine if the Superman films continued down this road and this was just a tradition.
Yeah.
So it just opened in a random office. But Superman 3, though, like, this film, I've really softened on it over the years. I think when I first watched it, I was a bit like, oh, this is just not funny and boring and shit. But now I actually can have a lot of fun with this.
Oh yeah, same here, on an ironic level, but this is going to be controversial to say, but I would much rather watch this any day of the week than, say, Superman Returns.
Oh yeah, I agree, because at least this one's fun, and it's got, Christopher Reeve being Christopher Reeve, and it's still a Solheim production, and it's still a confident one. It's just, it's just that it went down the route it went, which was comedy, and this is a comedy film essentially. That's what it's trying to be.
No, yeah, definitely.
But I kind of said last time in our Superman 2 commentary that I actually see this as basically like a James Bond film, where it's very standalone. It doesn't relate to any of the others. It's just an adventure with Superman, and I quite like that about it. It's unique.
Yeah, because there's no there's no mention of anything that happened in the first two films. There's no mention to Superman's origin. I mean, I think this is the only one of the 4, 5 if you count Returns, where there's no scenes in the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah,
even though
and
destroyed at the end of Superman 2, and then is suddenly back for Superman Returns.
Yep. And in Superman 4 as well, but then that's not canon, so who knows. But yeah, I think that kind of speaks a lot to where this film is pitching itself, because it's funny that this film makes the choice to, we're not seeing this story from Superman's point of view. He's just a character that's in it. We're seeing it from Gus Gorman's point of view.
That's true.
And I think not seeing the fortress or anything kind of is very emblematic of that.
So at least for the first time, Christopher Reeve gets top billing. Only took him 3 films.
Yeah, long overdue. And by this point, I think, to be honest, I think many people say that this is arguably his best performance as Superman, because he is very confident in it. He's very sort of like self-assured. There's no, because with the first two, obviously he's perfect in them, but especially with the second one, because of the 2 directors and everything, you could kind of see that with some scenes he wasn't as comfortable, whereas this, he's just in it from kind of moment one. And
yeah,
and of course he was heavily involved with the flying scenes and stuff, like directing some of them in their second unit stuff. So
yeah, because compared to the second film, this one had a much smoother production.
Oh yeah, it really did. It's arguably the only one of the 4 to have a pretty smooth, pretty uneventful production.
Yep.
Even though I believe the cast and crew did come out and say after this that they weren't too happy with how it turned out. But,
yeah, true. And
it certainly didn't. It made a lot of money. It was a success, but it didn't. Critically, it was pretty torn apart when it came out.
Well, 1983 was a year for 3 films. You had Superman 3.
Yeah.
You had Jaws 3, and you had Return of the Jedi. All 3rd films in a franchise.
That's right, yeah. And I think Well, I don't know. I've not seen Jaws 3, but I was about to say, is this the weakest of them? But I feel like Jaws 3 might. I've
Put
not
it
seen
this
it.
way: Jaws 3 is kind of so bad it's good. Jaws
Right.
4, or Jaws the Revenge, or whatever the hell you want to call it, is depressingly awful.
Yeah, I've seen lots of clips from Jaws 4. That one is kind of infamous for its shitness.
Yeah. I mean, it's a film so bad, the only good thing to come out of it is that Michael Caine bought a house with the money.
Yeah, there you go. And he missed the Academy Awards win for that film. People really shit on this opening sequence as well, and I can see why. Because I mean, look at it. It's a slapstick routine. You know, we're watching this insane kind of cartoony slapstick routine happen in front of our eyes. But it's you don't get films like this these days, like comic book films that are like this much driven by the director, because this is very Richard Lester.
Yeah, definitely. And also, it's like a day in the life of Superman. You know, just giving someone from a car filling up with water. Don't know how that works, but anyway, just something as small as that is something Superman would do.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, you could kind of take this as like its own little short film. Like it just little, but like bits like Clark just walking past this destruction, whistling and stuff is just very like, you know what kind of film this is from this. It's
a comic relief special with Superman.
Yeah, to be honest, it actually does kind of feel like a bit of a comic relief sketch, this opening. And of course, the kid at the photo booth. I just completely forgot that was. Yeah, kid at the photo booth is the same kid from Superman the movie.
It certainly is. Yeah.
Yeah, making a little cameo, so that's nice.
And Christopher Reeve was very much nearly not in this. He threatened not to come back because, again, just didn't like how they had treated Richard Donner.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they considered John Travolta, Jeff Bridges, Kurt Russell as Superman, but it was Richard Lester who more or less persuaded Reeve to come back, so... I've got Richard back for that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad he did come back, because I don't think... I mean, given that the film was kind of always going this direction, I think it would have been a bit of a disaster had we had a new
a lot more watchable for me.
Oh yeah, 100%. To be honest, I'm surprised he did a lot of this stuff, because he was very much, you know, taking the character seriously. I'm surprised he did like the pie. You know, putting the pie in the guy's face and everything. But even this here, so like we see Clark and Superman doing all of that, and then the camera focuses on these random office workers, and we're seeing it from their point of view for a bit. It really does feel like, you know, we are in this world as a bystander, whereas the first two, arguably, we were flying with Superman. We were seeing it from his POV. We were, you know, on his journey. But this really is Gus Gorman's film. Well,
he's on the poster for the American ones, but I think for like international ones, they just more emphasise Superman.
Yeah.
But I know Edgar Wright's a huge fan of this one. He says like, I actually don't mind Superman 3. I'm all for evil Superman.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we spoke about it last time. You know, Richard Lester was obviously a big influence on Edgar Wright, and I think there's going to be a lot of Richard Lester defending in this commentary. I think from my end specifically, because I do think he gets a lot of shit very unfounded, and we'll talk about that as we go along. But this is, I am glad this film has gotten a bit of a better reputation in recent years. I mean, it's still not liked, but it's certainly.
Compared to Superman 4, at least this is a finished film. Superman 4 is just a very bad work print.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a finished film. It's very competently edited and shot. It does have a vision, and that vision obviously is comedy, but it's still a vision, and it's still feels like an interesting experiment for the franchise, and I will take that over Superman 4 any day. I mean, when I was younger, it used to be the other way around, because I was like, well, Superman 4 is more entertaining, but I don't know what I was smoking, because I mean, this this is way better than Superman 4. But it seems like this feel like, day in the life of the Daily Planet, just like seeing the characters interact and talk to each other. I like all that stuff. I think it's really good fun.
Yeah, there's rumour that the reason Margot Kidder's not in this is because of her falling out with the Soul Kinds, but she claims she was just really busy with other stuff at the time.
Yeah, and it is sort of... Because I've heard the Soul Kinds also say, oh no, we just wanted to focus on Lana Lang in this one, and it's a bit like, well, there's still a place for Lois in there. I don't know that you had to, but like you say, it's very heavily rumoured, and I'm glad she is in it, even for a bit, because it's, but... But, like, I think I've said this before, my absolute favourite part of this film is the Smallville stuff. I love all the stuff in Smallville, and that is the stuff I will, like, defend genuinely as, like, really great stuff.
Yeah, I am glad we do move away from Metropolis a bit and go back to Smallville.
Yeah,
it's a nice change of pace. The what I'm not a fan of is the complete throwaway line, oh, I see you haven't come back here since your mom died. Oh, all right then. Yeah,
it's weird, isn't it?
Jonathan Kent dying in the first film was such a big deal. Oh, Martha's dead. Meh, move on.
Martha's dead. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's a proper throwaway bit. But again, it does. By this point, you sort of feel like, he's probably been in Metropolis at the Daily Planet for a good sort of 5 or 6 years at this point. Like, you feel like he's settled in times past. But yeah, it is weird. It's funny because Superman and Lois, the show, which I spoke about before, the first episode of that makes such a... Spoilers for Superman and Lois, people mute this for a bit. That show makes such a big deal in the first episode of Martha Kent dying.
Oh, okay.
And that's the reason that the whole show... Because the whole premise of the show is him and Superman and his family move back to Smallville and live a life there. And the inciting incident for that is Martha Kent dying. And it's such a big, powerful moment in the first episode. And it's so funny that you go to this. And it's just, yeah, that happened.
I mean, the original ideas for Superman 3 were him facing Brainiac, Mr... What do you call it? Mixablick?
Mxyzptlk.
That's it, yeah. And also meeting Supergirl as well. That would have been the original idea.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm very glad they pared that down, because that would have been very overstuffed. But... I mean, for, like, taking Supergirl out, probably the right decision, and then spinning her off into her own film. That's a good decision. Take her out, smooth it out a bit. But yeah, missing out on the kind of Brainiac and Mxyzptlk thing would have been... it's a shame we missed out on that. Although, Mxyzptlk would have been very ambitious for them to do at the time.
Because, I mean, one thing I'm getting sick of with live-action Superman films is that they just keep relying on either Lex Luthor or General Zod, and I'm like, he has other villains as well, Yeah,
he's got loads of them, and it's a shame that... I mean, do Metallo. Metallo would be a good one to do. I mean, the thing is, maybe Superman... James Gunn's Superman, I keep going to call it Legacy, but it's not called that anymore, is it?
Yeah, true.
Maybe there'll be like a secondary villain in that, and Lex Luthor sort of just plays a part on it, but I don't know. We'll see. Because you're right, this is the only one of all the Superman films, which is mental to say, that doesn't feature Lex Luthor or General Zod in any way.
Oh yeah, true.
It's the only one, and maybe that is a reason that I've returned to it in quite a bit in the kind of recent times, because the last few years I've watched this quite a bit. I just find myself drawn to it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that is a reason why, because it is a bit of a change of pace and it's something different. It's a different kind of focus, and I like that.
Now the problem is Ross Webster is practically is Lex Luthor.
Yeah, that is the only thing. He's a shit Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I love all this. I like Jimmy and Clark on the bus and he's falling asleep. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I just like seeing these characters like interact, really. Seeing them like talk to each other and interact. I think it's really good fun.
What's this? Superman characters having fun? Nah, you gotta go on missions to North Africa and get shot brutally in the head.
Oh yeah, yeah. Got to punch terrorists through walls.
Yeah.
I think this film sort of feels a lot like Man with the Golden Gun or like Moonraker.
Mm-hmm.
If we're using like a Bond comparison.
Yeah, true.
And you know, this one feels the most out of all of them, because we've spoken about this before. The Bond films and the Superman films do share connections, because obviously it's a lot of the same crew and all sorts.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this one I think feels the most like a Bond film of all of them, in terms of like that kind of it's just got a feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good effect.
It's really good. That holds up really well, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't really see the cut. It's like a green screen thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or blue screen or whatever. But this is all really good. Again, it's like seeing Superman be Superman and save people and stop this, disaster. I think it's good. You wouldn't... I don't know if you'd really see something like this in a film these days.
Yeah. No, if you're Superman and saving people, you've got to look as miserable as possible.
Yeah. I love that as well. Get this man a helmet. Oh, it's you. Forget the helmet.
I mean, he has to save the plant from the acid exploding, which means, oh no, it's boiling acid.
Hey.
He's made them a water slide.
Yeah. Yeah. They all look they're having a great time as well.
Mm-hmm.
That one guy's basically like the one guy's basically got his hands in the air.
Yep.
It's all very well done, this though. Like, you could imagine this scene in Superman 4 with all the explosions.
It'd just be the same shot of Superman flying at the camera.
But this is cool as well. Like seeing Superman just come in and just talk to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you just it sounds so stupid, like saying it like this, but I genuinely don't think you see scenes like this in modern superhero films.
Yeah, exactly. If it was Batman, yeah, because he's very much do it, move on.
Yeah.
But Superman is supposed to be a friend to everyone.
Exactly. And that's what I get from all of his interactions in this. Well, I say all of his interactions in this film when he's not playing evil Superman.
Mm-hmm.
But... I remember when I first saw this film, I thought this was setting up to be like Jimmy Olsen's villain origin story or something.
It makes sense. If he falls into a vat of chemicals, he'll probably turn evil.
Yeah. Probably turn into the Joker.
Yeah. Mirror.
Golly, Superman. Although actually, So I watched the first two films as a kid when I was about like 6 or 7. I didn't see this and Superman 4 until I was about 11, I don't think. Because, and this is somewhat embarrassing, I was actually scared to watch this film because the trailer freaked me out a bit. Because on the DVD,
Vera being turned into the robot.
They didn't, no. But that probably would have terrified me as well had I seen it at that age. But on the DVD for Superman 2 they had a trailer for this, and I watched it, and there's this whole bit where the announcer's like, it can change the weather and it can even change Superman, and then it cuts to Superman going, I hope you don't think I'm going to save you because I don't do that anymore, and then it cuts to like him being like screaming in pain as the kryptonite thing is shooting him at the end. And for some reason that combination of those three bits really freaked me out. I don't know what it was. It was just like, seeing Superman be a sleazebag, I just didn't, it really kind of rubbed me up the wrong way, and I just couldn't watch this film. So I didn't see it until a few years later because I was scared to watch it.
I just wish they did a bit more of evil Superman, because what we get is just him doing pranks, like adjusting the Leaning Tower of Pisa and blowing out the Olympic torch. Like, it's not that evil.
he's just a public menace is what he is. He's not really evil. Not too sure on the logistics of this ice trick though. I'm not quite sure how that'd work, but yeah, we'll go with it.
Yeah, wouldn't it just disintegrate the second he picked it up?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure like the heat from that fire would melt it kind of as he's approaching it too. I don't know if it would quite, yeah. But it's good fun. It's comic booky though, isn't it? I mean, that is the good. This is, a comic book film through and through because it is completely mad. Yeah, so this school dance bit, like pretty much everything that happens at this, I really love, and it does feel like it's in a completely different film to the rest of it. But
also they dance to Earth Angel. Just realised this predates Back to the Future.
They do, and we've also got Roll Over Beethoven by the Beatles playing at the minute, which is before the Beatles songs cost like an arm and a leg to use in things. Well,
Richard Lester had worked with them, so he was probably able to...
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he'd worked with them, so he was probably able to get a song as like a favour.
That doesn't surprise me, actually, yeah. Yeah, that's true. One turned up in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny last year.
Oh,
wow. I was in the cinema watching that, and I was just like, fucking hell. That's why this film cost like $300 million to make. Half of it went on that. Magical Mystery Tour. But yeah, this stuff is very human. I love coming up. We've got like Clark and Lana seeing each other from across the dance floor is really, really, really cute, and I think it's one of those. Oh, it's brilliant, and the way they just mouth each other's names. It's so like.
I like the relationship they have compared to Clark and Lois, because Lois was more in love with Superman than Clark, whereas here Lana is in awe of Superman, but she likes Clark more, I'd say.
I think so, and I think it's I think this is the stuff I think you can tell Christopher Reeve is probably having the most fun with, and I think as an actor he's probably like relishing all this because it's very. Yeah, it's just sweet and human, and I really like Annette O'Toole as Lana as well. She's another one that's come back in other things, and
because she's become Martha Kent in Smallville.
Martha Kent, yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised that with that big photo of Clark Kent as a teenager, I'm surprised no one's going like, huh? Wait.
Yeah.
That guy looks familiar.
Also, wait, you never looked like that in high school.
Yeah, true.
it's such a shame that this is like the only. I really wish she'd come back for Superman 4, because this film kind of ends off and you feel like, oh, there's probably going to be a bit of conflict between Lana and Lois.
Yeah, you'd think so, but she's never seen or even mentioned, I think, in Superman 4. In fact, I think Superman 4 does its best to retcon Superman 3.
Basically, yeah, kind of. And it's a shame, because this I really like her in this, and it's and she's quite a relatable character as well. She's very like she's a very real character, someone who just never got out, never found someone, never properly settled down. But she's a single mum.
Yeah.
It's such a shame, because I love everything with that in this, what this film does with those two. I love that moment there where the song changes and he's still
going for it.
It's a great bit of physical comedy. Yeah, it's a damn shame. I love all this stuff. And this is, I'll say it now, people, you want to talk about Richard Lester doing the comedy stuff, that's great, but kind of forgetting all of this stuff is Richard Lester too, and he's directing this really well.
Mm-hmm.
He's directing it with a lot of kind of sensitivity and I guess pathos, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a shame, like, obviously, I enjoy all this stuff with Gus Gorman, but when it cuts away, it is like, wow, this is a different film entirely to what we've just watched.
In fact, I do wonder, does Richard Pryor have more screen time than Christopher Reeve?
I think, well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. It's possible, because he is the main character here, and it's very possible. I mean, I know he was disappointed with how this turned out. Somewhat. Yeah,
because he wanted to do it to like branch into more serious roles, but again, they just made him. He was just basically typecast into being comedic all the time.
That's it, and I mean, yeah, well, fair enough. You cast Richard Pryor, I guess you expect a certain thing from him, but it is a damn shame that happened, because he could have been really cool in this.
Mm-hmm. I suppose it's like Jim Carrey in Batman Forever. Like, he could, theoretically, he could play an evil villain like the Riddler, but because of his popularity at the time, it's just giving the audience what they expect.
Exactly, and there's something to be said for that, but I love all this stuff, by the way. I love this scene in particular because it's lots of very long shots that are just, again, he's just put his camera there and let his actors work, and shooting it all in one take, mostly. I think it's brilliant. I think it's lovely and tender, and I love the bit where he sits down at the piano in a minute and starts playing Earth Angel. It's again, I would sound like a broken record. You don't see this kind of very long shots, very kind of quiet, tender moments in superhero films now.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. All this stuff. This is really, really good.
Yeah, because Richard Lester as a filmmaker likes to keep the camera still and just let the screen speak for itself, and
100%.
Yeah, and again, as you said, you probably would never get that in a superhero film now, because the camera always has to be moving, always has to be sweeping, and things like that.
Yeah, and that's not to say that you don't get superhero films that have scenes like this, but it's rare you get a scene that is, like, say, this one take, long shots that hold for a while and just kind of really pull you in. There is a desire these days, I think, to keep the audience interested, because obviously attention spans have gone downhill because of TikTok and things like that. And it's it's a shame. It's a damn shame, because say what you will about this film, but that stuff is excellent. It's very much a product of his time, though, that all this, like, this was the dawn of computers, and, like, what can computers do? They can do anything. They're like magical, machines that can do whatever you want, and it's interesting looking back, because obviously it's pre-internet as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, I like all I these three do feel a little bit like discount Lex, Otis, and Miss Tessmacher.
Yeah, they pretty much are.
They're really fun. They are really fun together. I really like Pamela Stephenson. Like, there's a lot of layers, I think, to that character. Not necessarily deep layers, but layers nonetheless. And she's very funny in this. Like, if you just watch her in the background of scenes, she's doing a lot of very funny, like, comedy stuff. Even when she's like out of focus, and yeah, she's fun in this. And as a comedy, I don't think as a whole, I don't think it really is that funny, but there are some really, really funny moments in it.
Also, I'll say this, Clark being a stepdad to Ricky, it does the whole Superman being a father thing a lot better than Superman Returns, because in that film he's practically just a stalker.
Yeah, this all this is very endearing. Again, it's probably why this stuff's my favourite stuff in the film, because yeah. I like him sticking up for Ricky as well, saying, "Well, no, he just needs a bit of encouragement. He doesn't.
Yeah, true. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't need a bowling lesson in front of, his friends."
Mm-hmm.
Again, I would watch a whole film of this, just Clark being Clark, regardless of, yeah. And I also like him using his powers to...
Yeah.
Even though they probably would get in quite a bit of trouble for smashing all of those pins, but whatever. It's interesting, all that, the visual style of this film is very kind of... It's got an interesting look to it, in that kind of everything at Smallville has this very warm kind of glow to it, and everything kind of in Gus Gorman's world is very kind of grey, and there's not much kind of going on.
Yeah, because as you say, it's like when we cut between scenes of Clark and Superman and then scenes to Gus Gorman, it's two different films.
It really is. And it's the tonal shift is it's a proper whiplash at times. It is an odd film. It is a really strange film, but yeah.
I don't want to go to jail. They are robbers and rapists and rapists.
Robbers and rapists and rapists who rape robbers. I love that line. That's such a funny line.
Surprised that still gives it a PG rating.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well. I do sort of wonder what kids made of this at the time, actually. Like, I wonder how many kids kind of liked the comedy aspect and how many were disappointed in it. Like, I'd be quite interested to see.
I know, yeah. Well, if you want to speak to the world's biggest Superman 3 fan, it's definitely Oliver Harper, I think.
I was going to say, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His video on Superman 3 is excellent.
I know, yeah.
And to be honest, it's probably his stuff and the love with which he talks about Superman 3 is probably the reason I've kind of appreciated it more in the last kind of few years or so.
Yeah, same here as well, yeah. Yeah, because his review of the Superman films in 4K was fantastic. And it's funny, Superman 3, when it comes to being released on home media, never seems to have the biggest issues or anything like that. People seem to be genuinely happy with the picture and sound quality.
Yeah, it's always been very dependable. It's a very, very dependable looking film, and it's always looked good. It's never been, all the issues with the first two. It's kind of mirrored. It kind of mirrors the productions, actually, doesn't it? The first two films have had kind of ups and downs on home media, but this one's always just been very dependable, and yeah, it's interesting.
And with Superman 4, nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd find Superman 4 in the bargain bin of every supermarket costing 50p.
Yes, yeah. Well, I've seen it in a few charity shops before now for about that price.
Yeah, the funny thing is about these Superman movies on home media is that you can only seem to buy, in the UK, Superman the movie on Blu-ray on its own. And then the other sequels, like, they're all in a box set. But I know they fixed that for 4K. You can now buy them individually.
They did. You can buy them separately because a lot of people just went for those instead of buying the box set. So it's nice they've finally done that, because it's similar thing with the Jaws films. You can get the sequels in a box set, but not with the first one, because Spielberg was apparently it was a Spielberg thing. He was like, I don't want my film packaged with these inferior films. No, me neither. But it's funny that he felt the need to do that.
It's like, the original Jaws is celebrated as a classic, and I think it was Gene Siskel who said the original Jaws is a classic, the sequels are utter trash, all of them.
Yeah. I've still only seen the first one. I've not seen any of the sequels. I would like to watch them someday, but
Jaws 2 is alright, it's competently made, It's Jaws 3 is so bad it's good. Jaws the Revenge is just depressingly awful.
It is hilarious they felt the need to make that a franchise. It's still, when I think, film about a shark terrorizing a small town, how many films can you get out of that? I'm shocked that we've not had like a Jaws Legacy sequel.
Oh god. Don't give him ideas. Well, I know, Jaws and Superman do have a bit of a connection, because Jaws 2 and Supergirl share the same director.
Do they? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, is it? How do you say his name? Jeanette Schwartz?
Oh, I don't know. I know he directed Superman. He directed Santa Claus the movie as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And but yeah, him making Jaws 2 was a bit of a nightmare, because he really didn't get on. Him and Roy Scheider, the star, they really didn't get on very well, because
right.
Roy Scheider did not want to be there, because he was like, well, no one's going to see the film because of me. They're going to see it because of the shark. And he only did it to, get out of a contract with Universal.
Right.
So he was like, I'll do this, then I'll go home. But, he didn't like the director, and apparently their fights even got physical on some occasions.
Oh, my God.
I mean, there's a Jaws video game as well.
Oh God, is there?
Yeah, it came out 2006. It's called Jaws Unleashed.
Oh my god.
Yeah. My cousin had it
Jesus
on
Christ.
PlayStation 2. You basically, it's a bit like Grand Theft Auto Jaws.
With the shark.
Yeah, with a shark. There's a main story you have to complete, and then after that, you've pretty much got free reign to like eat people, fish, attack boats. All as a giant shark.
I was going to say that does sound very much like a PS2 era game as well, and you said it's PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
That sounds very, very PS2 era.
I mean, there's a video game sequence at the end of this film, isn't there?
There is. Yeah, that's another thing that really that really makes us feel like a product of its time. But again, it is really nice to get out of Smallville. To get out of Metropolis. Sorry, it's really nice to because when Clark says, "Well, we don't have picnics like this in Metropolis," you do realise that we spend so much time in these films in like the concrete jungle of Metropolis, and to be here like in the wheat fields of Kansas again, back where we were in the first one, it's yeah, it's really cool. And I like that. I really like that kind of small town aesthetic anyway. And that feeling of kind of longing to get out of there and make something of yourself, which obviously Lana has. It's very sweet. All of this works really well. That also looks a lot like the car that Sam Raimi uses in all of his films.
Maybe it is
Uncle Ben's car. I always question the chain of events that led to this, though. So led to the kid being passed out in the middle of a field of wheat, because we don't really see it. We just see him run off.
And then he's suddenly passed out on the floor.
And he's got a cut on his head as well. I question...
I mean, if we saw him trip and like hit his head on a rock, then that would be fine. But
yeah,
here it's just like, oh, he's knocked out.
Well, you see the rock next to him, in fairness, but like it's such a quick shot. It's really like, what? How the hell did that happen? And what are the chances as well? I like the look that Superman gives to that guy in the thing as well.
He's like, seriously? You were going to crush this little boy?
Yeah. And he doesn't even say, when the guy's like, gosh, is he alright? The kid Superman just ignores him.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself, sir.
Yeah.
You're supposed to farm wheat, not little boys.
When in reality, it's probably not his fault.
Yeah. Ricky seems a bit disappointed. Superman? That's me. Oh,
yeah.
I was expecting the Flash. I mean...
Trust me, you don't want Ezra Miller.
You don't want Ezra Miller, kid. Bye.
There's a line coming up that's always puzzled me as well. When Clark's like, oh, if I had a nickel for every time some kid asked me, like he sort of moans at Ricky for asking about the autograph thing, and I've always found this a bit puzzling. It's a little bit sort of out of character for him.
Yeah, surely Clark would be like, of course I can get you his autograph.
Yeah, it's really weird. It almost seems like that should come when he's starting to become like evil Superman. But it does feel really... I've always found that line really out of place. Brad, of course, is in Never Say Never Again as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got that connection. Same year as this, actually. A film which I've only ever seen the once, and probably will stay that way. I don't think I'll ever watch that again. This is a funny gag as well. Him like using the booze to get a way in, but then also becoming way too drunk himself.
Mm-hmm.
Is quite a funny comedy skit. So he can't actually perform the task he was there to do.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it does feel like a comedy sketch as opposed to a scene in a film.
Do I smell wheatgrass and vodka? It's called a lawnmower. I invented it. Yeah. Where did he get the big hat from?
I was about to say the same thing. Him scaring himself in the mirror is hilarious. It's funny as well because I don't know a lot about Richard Pryor as a comedian. I will admit, but how much of his stuff was slapstick? Because there's a lot of slapstick in this.
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I'd assumed, like, as a comedian, he was quite dark humour, because I've seen a couple of clips from his stand-up where he's just, like, swearing, saying, "Hey, lion, motherfucker."
Yeah, that's kind of what I assumed his act was. So it is weird to cast him in a Superman film and have him go this broad with it. Because it is quite broad comedy. It's not like...
Yeah, it is supposed to be a family film, so I can't have him saying, "You see lions and shit, not the ones you be fucking with in the zoo."
It is strange, though, isn't it? It was an odd... Oh, I know they did it because he said he liked Superman, or he wanted to see Superman 2 on the show and everything, on the talk show, but it is strange. It's an odd...
It's weird. He got married 5 times, and with his 4th and 5th wife, he married them again, and then divorced them again.
It's like Henry VIII.
Oh, yeah. That's arguably even worse.
Yeah. He had a very tragic life, didn't he?
Well, I mean, at the time he was going through a cocaine addiction, which was really bad, yeah.
Because for a while he was one of the people who was said to have been involved in the Superman curse as well, which I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that whole thing, but I mean, there you go. Somebody said recently that Ben Affleck's a member of the Superman curse because he played George Reeves in Hollywoodland, and there's a bit in that film where he's in the Superman outfit and everything.
Wow.
So somebody said recently, well, technically he's got the curse on him as well because he's been through a pretty bad time in recent years. But
yeah, because George Reeves, who played Superman on TV, said he died of suicide. Christopher Reeve had a tragic accident, leaving him paralyzed. Marlon Brando died. I think Marlon Brando died of natural causes, I think. But
he was, yeah. He kind of ate himself to death in his last few years, though.
Yeah.
He put on a lot of weight, and obviously his daughter committed suicide as well. So he didn't have the best final years.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh wait, was his daughter murdered?
Yeah. His son Christian shot his half-sister's boyfriend,
Oh
and then
God.
yeah, his daughter tragically ended her own life, and
Right.
yeah. And funny enough, I think a couple of weeks ago, Marlon Brando would have been 100.
Oh bloody hell!
Yeah.
I know his final performance was well, I don't know if it was his final performance, but one of his last performances was in the Godfather video game on the PS2.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't use the dialogue that he recorded because he was so ill at the time. But if you go to a certain point in the game, you can hear the dialogue, like just the raw recording of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very eerie. Like he's kind of he's inaudible basically. He's that bad, and he's kind of speaking through an oxygen mask.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Christopher Reeve's wife, Dana Reeve, died of lung cancer despite never smoking.
Bloody hell. Jesus Christ. I mean, the George Reeves thing is that's been a long rumoured kind of web of intrigue that has, because that's still debated to this day. The official ruling was suicide, but there are people who are convinced he was murdered, people who are convinced that somebody put a hit on him. It's a wild story.
I mean, this was due to the season 15 box set, but I discovered recently Graham Williams' death was suicide. I had no idea.
Yeah, that really shocked me.
Because I looked online and it said, like, shooting accident, so I thought, oh,
yeah.
And because I knew he was in the hotel business, I thought, oh, has he been part of a shooting club and has a rifle gone off and accidentally hit him? But no, it was tragically suicide.
That stunned me, that documentary, because I like you, I'd looked online, it was shooting accident. Okay, well, that's tragic, and then it was suicide. The way they reveal it in that documentary is a proper like gut punch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I couldn't believe it. I like that we're talking about this really horrendous, tragic shit over like some of the stupidest scenes in any big comic book film
started
ever.
with the whole Superman curse thing, On a lighter note, Brandon Routh and Henry Cavill have been bad so far. Yeah, because I think Henry Cavill has said, I don't think there is a curse, I just think a lot of this is bad luck.
Yeah. I mean, I know for ages people are like, Brandon Routh's got the curse on him as well because he didn't get any work after Superman Returns, and I'm like, well, that's not entirely true.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Scott Pilgrim, he was on a big part of the Arrowverse for a long while. He's, that's not really accurate.
I'd say also being Superman hasn't really affected Henry Cavill's career either. He's still doing quite well.
Yeah. This is definitely where the film takes a dive into massive stupidity. I'll say that much.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is very silly. We had the man discovering his bill and rubbing the fruit in his wife's face earlier, which is a...
I mean, was that a thing back then? If you were pissed off with someone, you just rubbed fruit in their face?
Well, I think the joke is meant to be, because the bills are so high, he's like, well, we've got to start cutting back somewhere, so he's using his wife's face to juice the fruit. But it doesn't really work as a gag. That's what I mean, it's a very, like, old school British comedy, like...
Well, it just reminds me of that Simpsons gag. Your son Bart sounds like a really bad boy. Oh yeah, he is, kid. I love you, son. Shut up!
Do you know what though? Actually, like watching all that again, I'm kind of not surprised that this. I think in America, I would say in Britain, this is much more loved than it is in the States, and I think a lot of that is because the humour is very British. and it's very British of that era as well. Like I said, the fruit gag, the kind of traffic light stuff, it's all kind of stuff that you would expect to see in almost like Monty Python, in a lot of kind of British comedy shows of like the 70s and 80s. It's very of that, and obviously it's because Richard Lester's doing it, and it's I'm kind of not surprised that American audiences perhaps don't really get it as much as we do. And I'm not saying it's like a comedy masterpiece that you'll only understand if you're British, far from it. But it does make sense.
Well, yeah, they mention how Superman saved them all, but we don't see that.
We don't see it. I wonder if it was meant to be there and got cut, because we see it kind of crossfades very briefly, and we see him going into like the storm cloud, and then it cuts back again, and it's a little bit like, well, I wonder if that was meant to be a set piece, but it got cut or something, because it seems weird that you would go to the effort of having an effect shot like that to put over Richard Pryor doing this comedy routine. Do you know what I mean? It seems odd. And again, we see him with his laser eyes, and
I mean, it'd be like watching a Batman film and, I don't know, Rowan Atkinson physically acting out what Batman does rather than just showing us.
Well, speaking of Rowan Atkinson, I discovered recently a comedy sketch that he did for Comic Relief in the early 2000s that is a parody of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, in which he plays the lead role. And I didn't know this existed, but it's really funny. And Simon Pegg's in it. And it's, yes, I was quite surprised to find out that existed.
Rowan Atkinson as Spider-Man, come on, that could work.
Yeah. This gag I don't think is very funny at all when he flies off the bloody building. Like, it's probably quite a bit of money spent on that for a gag that just isn't that funny.
Mm-hmm. And also I think he'd be dead, but alright.
Yeah. It's a weird gag.
Oh yeah, that line baffles me. I need to stop him. What, shoot him? You know what he's like with bullets. Let's cut to the climax. Let's see how long he can last without air.
Yeah, it's...
Let's forget that the Superman film ends with him flying into space.
I also like the fact that they need to explain what debris is in case anybody in the audience doesn't know. What happens when a planet explodes? Debris. Things floating in space. It's like they felt the need to put that line in there. Yeah, it doesn't really work.
It's like, surely he'd be dead.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's an impressive stunt.
Right through the glass, been cut to ribbons, and died.
Oh, yeah.
This is funny. Just speaking of Superman Returns, but the premise for that is Superman finding bits of Krypton again and
Yeah,
going to search for it. In this film, nah, just tell a satellite to go find it.
yeah.
So actually, no wonder Superman Returns retcons this film.
Oh yeah, just tell the satellite to find it, bring it back down.
Yeah.
I kind of can't believe they felt the need to put this bingo subplot in as well. Like, this feels like
Mm-hmm.
something that would have been cut and ended up on the deleted scene section. This whole tangent about the bingo
I mean, do you
it's
think
an
we'll ever get
odd.
the TV cuts of Superman 2 and 3?
I'd like to. I'd like to think so. Thing is, with the TV cut for this one, is it's not really. I don't think you could sell it on its own because it isn't really that substantial. It's very sort of minor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Superman 2, I think you could get away with that one a bit more, but this one doesn't really. Wonder what Ricky's doing now in real life, the actor.
I mean, I hope he's not a Superman curse victim.
Yeah, I was. God, I hope not.
I like that little
I
moment
just
where he just reacts to her saying, "You're the best," because, usually it's all about Superman, you're the best, Superman, you're
yeah.
fantastic, but no one ever gives Clark any gratitude, which is really nice
I,
to see.
I agree. It's lovely. It's a lovely little moment. That's what I mean. Their relationship is just full of great little bits in this. It's a shame, really. I feel like it's quite overlooked because everyone focuses on Gus Gorman and all that, but this is the heart of the film.
Mm-hmm.
I always think this is a very, we've got the birthday party coming up. We just had the phone call, but it's a very cute thing to see Superman doing.
Mm-hmm.
Going to a kid's birthday party, even if the kid's been an absolute little shit and told everyone that he's come in when he hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this has one thing in common with Spider-Man 3. The hero making a public
Yes.
appearance and being thanked.
Yeah, that's another. That's another. Add that to the similarities.
And they give Superman the key to the city, and I think they mention in Spider-Man 3 when the public thinks he's robbing banks, they say, "This is the guy they gave the key to the city to."
Yeah.
So I wonder if there was a Spider-Man 4, would we have gotten Nuclear Man?
If there was a Spider-Man 4, would the budget have been slashed? Would it have been sold to a different studio?
Mm. Why is he in disguise? No one knows
I
who
know.
he is.
No bugger knows who he is. Why
It's
does he
like
feel
a
the need?
wanted criminal.
But it's bits like this that definitely do feel like, okay, this is just an excuse to get Richard Pryor doing his thing, because it
Mm-hmm.
is very much like it's just an extended bit of him going rah, like shouting in a silly voice.
Yeah.
Also, you've got to wonder as well when he gives that thing to Superman, like, were Superman's heckles raised there? Because I mean, it looks like kryptonite. And then obviously, he looks at it and sort of, I guess, determines that it's not a threat. But it's, you've got to wonder, like, what was going through his mind at that point.
It's kryptonite mixed with tar, but it's been established before that kryptonite takes away his powers. So if you just add tar, it makes him evil?
Yeah, apparently. Well, that's the dangers of smoking, kids.
Yeah, it should be an anti-smoking ad.
Yeah, it'll turn you into an absolute menace to society.
Don't smoke, kids. You'll blow out the Olympic torch and bang women on the top of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. Probably the most evil thing they do in this is fucking hijack that kid's birthday party.
Yeah.
Poor Ricky, It's classic Superman as well, It's very nice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, killing Superman's not like getting milk from the shop.
I was going to say, like...
I mean, I love how when he's evil, he doesn't, like, cause mass destruction. He just becomes a sleaze.
Yeah, he just turns into a sleaze bag.
Yeah.
It's...
Man, let's relax a little. What, Bridge? I don't save people anymore. But I like when he turns good, he says to the woman who he supposedly slept with, I don't know you, lady.
Yeah. Yeah, which implies that, like, oh, actually, it's two different characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, like, yeah, it's weird. Again, I think Christopher Reeve's relishing it, though. Like, he's really going for it. The fact that he gets to play a different version of Superman, it's...
Yeah.
I kind of... Taking aside the fact that it's obviously because it's evil Superman, I kind of like the idea that he is arrogant enough in this moment to go, I always get there on time. Like,
true,
it is quite like, well, yeah, I guess I know obviously he's under the influence at this point, but it's you would kind of have to assume, well, yeah, I guess sometimes he must think like that because he always does get there on time. It's never a problem for him, but in situations like this...
Yeah, and I love the way Chris Reeve plays snapping out. He's like, oh, you're right. Like,
yeah,
it's like, I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah, this is the thing. It kind of starts off like all of this. It's like a slow descent. Like the fact that, like you say, it's just like I cannot believe that just happened. But like pretty much after this bridge thing, he goes instantly into the evil Superman thing, and it's kind of funny that it starts off very slowly and then just goes instantly into it. It's a shame that they didn't keep that gradual descent up. It's funny as well. What can he just help? No, well, not much of anything now, I think he says. Well, hang on a minute. You can still help clear the, clear the river, clear some of the debris out the way. It's not like it's gonna. Having Superman there is still going to be a help to you for the cleanup operation. Like, in spite of anything else. Why is it his first instinct? Like, you've got to think, we all have a dark side in us, we never know what we do if we was to cross over to that dark side. Superman's first instinct is to go and just mess with the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Imagine if this was... Imagine if Bruce Wayne was on the ground looking up at him in disgust, like he does in Batman v Superman, and that's the reason that Bruce Wayne decides to declare war on him.
If there is an insignificant chance...
She's our enemy. We have to take it as an absolute certainty.
Oh, it's so silly. Like, we cut straight from the Pisa thing to Superman, goodness at a crossroads, and it's like, oh, we're doubting him now because he went and straightened the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's so dumb. If that happened these days, he'd get cancelled on Twitter for it. And people would be going, that's weird, why has he done that? There wouldn't be this big magazine article debating whether or not he's still moralistic.
And someone should really do a cut of at the end of Fear Her, where the Doctor lights the Olympic torch and Superman blows it out. Do it. How Fear Her should have ended.
He's so funny as well. All of this stock footage of the Olympic stuff, because it's so grainy.
Yeah, it is.
In comparison to the rest of the film, because it's obviously so clearly stock stuff.
And I love how inexplicably his suit gets darker because he's evil.
I know. Yeah, and I've said it before. That suit gets way darker, obviously. That today, that is just his standard suit now.
Oh, yeah,
the muted
is,
colours. That is just standard for superhero costumes now, to have them be so muted and everything. But here, it's darker because he's evil. Oh, and don't forget the 5 o'clock shadow either. Very, very important. And I think it's a different wig, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
It's weird that, obviously it's a joke that she's pretending to be ditzy and stupid, when she's actually really intelligent. It's a shame they never do anything with that, though, because there's story potential in there, I feel like, that they just don't really do anything with.
Mm-hmm.
This must have been an expensive set, though. That
big
definitely. James Bond-esque globe that comes out of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to know at what point in the production they decided, yeah, these three would be great villains for Superman.
Yeah,
because they are just
the great catalogue of Superman villains we have. Let's just do Diet Lex Luthor.
Yeah. And Robert Vaughn, he was in a lot of westerns, right? Like he's in The Magnificent Seven, is he?
I think so. Yeah.
So. He's in a lot of stuff like that. So he was a respected actor, but
it's weird. Gus is a computer genius, but he's a complete idiot as well.
Yeah, it's odd.
I don't get it.
It's like your classic sitcom character trait where they've got like they're a genius in one specific field, even though it doesn't make actually a lot of sense at all. And it's odd as well, like of all the dastardly plans, yeah, we just want money.
We just want to control coffee and oil, like yay.
Coffee and oil, like.
Actually, to be fair, controlling the world oil, that's the plot of The World Is Not Enough.
Yes, very true.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's the Bond connection again.
Yeah. But even controlling what? Coffee? Even a Bond villain would look at that and be like,
yeah.
Seriously? Robert Beatty here as the captain.
Yes.
General Cutler in The 10th Planet.
I was going to say, yeah, 10th Planet. It's funny, he hadn't really aged since 1966.
Yeah, true.
He looks very similar, he's just got a bit of grey hair. It's I know Lois is meant to be in Bermuda, but like I refuse to believe that she wouldn't be seeing this on the news and go, oh shit, Superman needs my help.
True, yeah.
It feels odd that she's like, because I know they say that she gets stuck over there right at the end, but it's still a bit like, hang on a minute, she'd be after the events. Oh, I guess she forgot the events of the second one, but like after all that.
Mm-hmm. I really needed to see his crotch there, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, it was this whole section that they played in the it was one of those trailers, I seem to remember, that it was very much like, yes, we're just going to show you all of the film. I wonder as well how long... first of all, how long he's evil for, like the time frame, and also what happens to Clark during all of this? Because presumably he's just
does he
suppress work and...
Does he suppress Clark, and that's why he comes out later?
Presumably Clark stops showing up for work and everything.
Well, there's deleted scenes of Clark walking down Metropolis and doing dances.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the effect of the oil, well, it's more later on, isn't it, when he kind of blows it back in, but I still think that looks really good. Christ knows how his costume's not completely black now, but...
Oh, yeah.
They also recycle the villain's theme from Superman 2.
They do, yeah. Well, it's Ken Thorne who did the music for this one, isn't it?
Ken Thorne's back again, and actually, I think Ken Thorne gets a lot of undue stick because I think his scores. I mean, for the longest time, I thought John Williams did all of them, which I think that speaks, I think, quite a bit to how effective Ken Thorne is at adapting his music. It's weird as well. Like, Superman doesn't give a shit about anything else. He just wants to have a shag and get out of there. Like, fuck the champagne.
And get drunk in a bar. It's just like, it's not a case of, I'm going to destroy humanity and wreck it up. It's just like, I don't save people anymore.
Yeah. I couldn't give a shit, mate. Like, that's all it is, really. I forget this whole tangent with the fucking beef at the gas station and stuff. It goes off some tangents, this film. It really does.
Yeah. I suppose it is showing the consequences of, the villain's actions, but the problem is it's just played all for laughs, so it's just not, worth getting invested in.
Yeah, that is... I think because everything's played for laughs, it is very, everything feels very segmented. Tell you what, though, that's a really cool effect.
I
mean, I say effect, it's literally just a helicopter flying through the canyon, but it looks great. I also like that Lana isn't even, when it comes to Brad, she's not even beating around the bush. She's just like, look, I'm busy tomorrow night, doing what? Well, I'm going to think of something. Like, she just is so upfront about how that she's just so done with his shit.
Definitely,
He comes across as borderline harassy, but that's...
Yeah.
Because she even says, stop calling me, which implies that he's just been doing this for so long. He's a proper piece of shit. God, he picked such a shit pub to go into as well.
It's like other people inside the bar aren't even that bothered that he's there.
Don't care.
I mean, if they were looking at him and being scared of him of what he's going to do, then that could have been fine. But they just look at him meh.
Yeah. The bloke sat next to him looks a bit like Mal Smith.
Might be.
To be honest, I'm actually a bit... Oh no, it definitely isn't.
No, he melted the glass.
Tell you what, though, that is a pretty cool effect, the glass melting.
Yeah. Can Superman get drunk?
Well, apparently. I'm just noticing as well. They put like dirt makeup around his eyes. Like it looks like he's been rolling around in the dirt. That's really odd.
I love this. What are you looking at? Huh?
Nobody's ever going to trust that creep again. So it's funny as well because it's not like, what are you looking at, huh? It's, what are you looking at? It's just like a random bark.
I'll get better when you fix this damn door.
Yeah. He can hear me. He's got super hearing, you dumb bitch. Like it's funny as well, like the colours of the Dark Superman's outfit are basically the colours of Brandon Routh's Superman costume.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
The boots especially look very similar.
Yeah, and I love this when he lands and gives that scream. It's like something that's out of this world.
Yeah, it's great. And he lands onto the 007 stage at Pinewood, which you can see in the background.
Yep.
And he also lands next to a poster for Friday the 13th Part 2, I believe. So that's when they were filming this.
Jason versus Well, yeah. One of the original titles for this was Superman versus Superman.
Oh, well, there you go. Wasn't it like Kramer versus Kramer, the film, or the producers of that got really annoyed at it, and that's why they had to change it?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Which is so bizarre, because it's like, hang on, you've not invented that versus thing.
Well, it didn't stop Batman v Superman.
Yeah. I'd say this is maybe the weakest effects in the film, though, like when it's the two of them on screen together. Like, I love this fight, and this is probably the scene that most people like. That even the people who hate this film love the junkyard fight.
I mean, yeah, Christopher Reeve. Yeah, he said he didn't have the best experience working on this film, but he said he enjoyed the junkyard fight.
Yeah, and I think that's the case with everyone who watches this film, really. But I'd say like there's an effect later on where he's got him by the throat, and like the arms are green screened in, and it looks quite dodgy.
This is what they should have done with the whole Spider-Man 3 turning evil. You always wanted to swing, Parker. Now's your chance. Danger, acid. We just leave it completely out in the open with no safety lid on.
Nothing, yeah. Yeah, what is the... Why? He's quite intimidating, though, when he's doing the whole, come on. Yeah. Like, he's,
Like, what's that matter, Kent? Too warm for you, huh?
Yeah. Come on, chicken!
It does feel very comic booky because, like, from what I understand, if like a superhero goes for a conflict like this, they tend to split off in two, don't they?
Yeah, it's a very comic booky thing.
Yeah.
The fact that he's like, you've been on my nerves for a long time, like you get the sense that this darker side has been brewing for ages, and it was just the dodgy kryptonite that let it out. But I gotta say, the bit just there where he was smacking him with the massive pole, that makes me laugh every time because the sound effect, the sound design, and the sound effects of the pole hitting him are so loud. So it's just like this quite flimsy looking bit of metal, and then suddenly, brah, 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 on Clark. It's a shame that Clark isn't really giving back, though. I've always felt like that with this scene. It's just because he does the I can give as good as I get, but he's not giving back beyond that.
Yeah. Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level.
Hey. God, Christopher Reeve again though is so good because when he picks up the glasses a bit later on, he like breathes a sigh of relief that Clark's gone, and it's like, oh, that's really, it's really good.
Oh no, tires, my only weakness.
Yeah.
He's just standing there letting them wrap around him.
Yeah, he really is. It makes me laugh because he is just literally...
Oh, this is so Looney Tunes.
Oh, it really is. I know this is a poster for Blade Runner as well. Not just Friday the 13th, all the classics here. Gotta say, the kick always makes me laugh. Again, though, it's weird, isn't it? Because we go off of like Gus Gorman and that for quite a long time for this whole tangent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's an odd film in terms of whose perspective we're meant to be following. Probably one of the most epic Superman moments in film coming up there when he rips the shirt open to reveal the big bright yellow S.
Yep. Well, I like how Clark becomes more powerful because he crushed his glasses. Like, nobody crushes my glasses.
Yeah, so the bit in Skyfall when the DB5 blows up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I initially thought it was this film where Superman gets pummeled, into the ground. You awkwardly see Christopher Reeve, adjust himself to get in, but it's the fourth one where that happens.
I got to say though, I mean, actually, to be fair, the film kind of makes a joke out of this. But imagine being a bystander, having seen Superman do all of this, like being on the oil rig, for example, having seen Superman do all of this, and then he just comes back, and it's just like, well, what the fuck? Thanks for that, mate. What was the point of that then?
Thanks for wasting our time.
And the film does kind of make a joke about that later when it's with the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and the guy's just like starts smashing the...
Would you look at that?
I also love that they just straight up just play the main theme here, because what else would you play? It's great. They just let it play in full.
Yeah, but honestly, I could watch a whole film of just like no dialogue, but it's Superman saving the day with that iconic John Williams music.
100%.
I've said before, but it's the DC national anthem in my opinion.
Oh, it really is. And that's what I mean, like, for all its faults, this film contains plenty of Superman moments being, like, Superman being Superman. It's got loads of it. For all its faults, you know, and there are many, but it's fun to watch that, if nothing else. Them in their bloody white jumpsuits and those big balloons, it's so daft. Also, in joke about the first film there.
Yeah, I just don't believe a man can fly.
Don't believe a man can fly. Very good.
Wait, why are they in the Grand Canyon now?
Yeah, I always wonder that. I'm just like, what? Why?
It's the only place they could build a supercomputer.
I guess. God, as well, you cut away to that, you know, big shot of Superman flying there, and then you cut back to these three just going slowly down on their balloons as well.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And it's not meant to be either. I'm pretty sure some of this is reused back production from the first one, right?
It does look like it, yeah.
It looks a hell of a lot like it. What an 80s line. Wow, what a jukebox. They're so lame. I was like, come on, Bubba, it's showtime. They're so...
Yeah, like... Well, at least they're not Nuclear Man.
True. Isn't it mad, though, that Nuclear Man is the only other time in these films, apart from Zod and company, that we actually see him fight, like, another superpowered individual?
Yeah, pretty much.
And even in Superman Returns, we don't see that.
Yeah. Superman Returns, really... just have him hold stuff.
Yeah.
In 1980, you were doing more than that.
It's why I've always said I really wish that film got a sequel with like a different director, because all the elements are there for it to work really well. It just is so like confused about who it is.
Mm-hmm.
About to get into the video game sequence though, which is... Remember when I first watched it, I was like, this is so stupid, but it's quite fun.
Well, the Superman, is it the N64 game? That's considered one of the worst games ever.
It is, yeah. Fly through rings, Superman.
I remember when the Unusual Suspect reviewed Batman Arkham Knight, he said, now if Rocksteady could do DC's other most iconic superhero, and it cuts to footage of that infamous Superman game.
Yeah, we're still waiting for a good definitive Superman game. I'm very fond of the Superman Returns tie-in game that they did, which was basically you could roam around the city as you please, but you didn't have a health bar. The city did. So
okay.
you'd have like forces attacking the city, and you'd have to defend it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was how they got around the whole thing of you not being able to die.
Okay.
Which is quite a cool thing. Like, I think that's arguably the closest we've got to that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still not.
I mean, yeah, I've not played them, but the Spider-Man games just look terrific.
Oh yeah, they're really good. I just finished replaying the second one because they did a big update for it.
Nice.
They're just definitive. So the story of the second one isn't as good, but it's still a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I always think the video game Superman here looks a lot like Brandon Wraith. Gus going, what the hell is going on? Wasn't that game put in there? Wasn't it like people thought that it was like an actual game that you could buy, but it was obviously not?
I think so, yeah.
That's hilarious as well, him telling the donkey to sit and then going, get you, jackass! So technically this big computer is meant to be Brainiac in a way.
I'd say so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
A very, very loose adaptation though. It's just a computer that gains sentience.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really...
I love that. I don't know you, lady.
Yeah. And you're next, Webster. This computer is one step away from just being Zoanon from the Face of Evil.
Oh, yeah. Who am I?
Yeah. Who am I? She's a big pig. That's quite a fun line as well when he's like, I'm not with them, man. His name's Superman. That's quite a funny line.
That's not his last name.
Yeah, that's not his last.
Let's see how long he can carry on without any air.
Well, he does all right in space. So.
Yeah, he's doing fine in space, guys. So I think he'll be fine.
They'll have gone to the same. In making that bubble, they'll have gone to the same place they went to make the cellophane S, I imagine.
Yeah.
It looks very, very similar.
I mean, that line of that's not his last name. It just reminds me of Catherine Tate on Nevermind the Buzzcock. She was like, I thought Doctor Who was your full name. I thought your last name was Who. I thought you were called Mr. Who.
Mr. Who. I love that because she says you. Thought your last name was talking to David Tennant as if he is the Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: if she had said that during the fandom menace time we're in now, she'd have been crucified. Yeah.
She really would have.
When it's clearly a fucking joke.
She's hilarious though in the Doctor Who Unleashed for Wild Blue Yonder. She's just like, I don't really get the Mavity thing. So hang on, we go back. And I say it wrong. No, you say it right. He says it wrong. but hang on, why does that mean I say it wrong later? And it's like David Tennant trying to explain the whole thing to her, and she just isn't getting it. It's very funny.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but on the Rise of Skywalker comments, we got compared to members of the Fandom Menace. I'm like, we're not that
Did
bad.
we? Oh my god.
Yeah,
We'll
I think someone it's on the Rise of Skywalker commentary. Someone commented saying, "Oh great, more Fandom Menace members." I'm like, we're not that bad.
Well, it's funny as well, given that, like, I think I start that commentary with, like, now, we've been very positive on the first two sequels, so I'm sorry for what's about to happen. Like, I say something like that or something, so it's like,
yeah.
Given that our Last Jedi one especially is very, like, positive and...
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, fucking hell, it was a month ago, more annoying jerks from the Fandom Menace. Christ.
I mean, we're not getting upset that women and minorities are in films. Come on.
Yeah.
This screw, that screw, never.
I also forget he bloody eats it. There's
Is
so
he
many...
biting his thumb?
He, like, bites his thumb. It's such... All the while he's bloody gurning.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an odd film, this. It's mental.
Yep. It's becoming self-aware.
There's an like, that looks like something out of Star Wars, that shot of, like, the power banks above and everything.
Well, yeah, and also the interior of the supercomputer kind of reminds me of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, it really does. It's proper, like, classic sci-fi stuff.
Mm-hmm.
God, I've just noticed as well, as the lights go out in Metropolis, some of the lights on the cars go out. I'm not sure that's how headlights work. God, news travels fast as well. Superman super again. Christ, that took about an hour.
That was quick. Superman? No.
Yeah.
Like, you made this machine. What do you think they were going to use it for? You gave Superman evil kryptonite that made him evil. What did you think they were going to do?
It's so funny as well that they're like, it's kryptonite. This time we finally got it right. And it's like, fuck me, that was glossed over.
Yeah.
Given that was, like, for a big chunk of this film, that was, like, their main goal is to get kryptonite. And then it just happens, and they're like, we finally got it right. And it's like, what?
Wait, he's going to flat out leave them to die?
Yeah. Again, it's the way he looks at them. It's the same look he gave that bloody farmer earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That's like something out of Scooby-Doo as well. We're through, frog face. I'm splitting.
Well, there is a Batman and Scooby-Doo crossover.
There is, yes. I watched that a lot as a kid. God, this bloody robot is genuinely terrifying.
Yep.
It is the way the sound completely cuts out, and you just hear it go. Ah!
Mm-hmm. I love how she's now got more of a Beatles-style haircut.
Yeah.
I once took a shower with an umbrella. How did you get dry? Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't we get back to writing songs? That's a good idea for a song title.
I was half an hour looking for the sugar.
What if you make coffee out of tea? As much as I love Get Back, I do love the jokes made about it on The Simpsons, where Peter Jackson's we've also uncovered 90 hours of the Beatles discussing drinking water. Maybe that could be a documentary too.
Well, as we record this, the Beatles have posted something interesting on their Facebook pages. Presumably, it's like another Get Back project, because they've just put it's like 4 squares, and it says "At Last," and the caption is like speaking words of wisdom or something. So it's something to do with Let It Be. Hoping it's finally a release of the original Let It Be film. I don't know how I feel about the acid thing coming back, because it is quite a nice kind of payoff from earlier, but it is also very kind of inconsequential and tangential. Although he's almost rivaling John Pertwee here with those pain faces.
Yeah, it didn't really look much like acid, it just looked more like jam.
Yeah, I always think that when it's like exploding on all the circuits and everything, it is just jam, isn't it? Raspberry. Or as Timothy Dalton says, strawberry jam. Impressive model work, though.
Yeah, it is impressive.
I mean,
because I know, because there has been debates, like I think recently, what's worse, Superman 3 or 4? Some have said Superman 3 is worse, but I'd take this over 4 any day, because at least it's a completed film.
I'd definitely take this over 4. This is... I mean, look at all the... this still looks great. The effects are still great. The performances are still really good. It's. I would absolutely take this over 4. I know that some people have said that 4 feels more like a Superman film, but it's also broken.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it depends what you'd prefer if you had to pick your poison. Yeah. A Superman parody or a broken Superman film.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, at least this has all the stuff in Smallville, and it's still... It feels like they could have done a 4th one under the Salkinds from this, and it had a chance of being really good. Christopher Reeve's really doing some, quite impressive polystyrene rock, making it seem heavier than it actually is acting there.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Isn't there a story about Richard Pryor was really scared of the flying stuff?
Yeah, because I think he had a fear of heights, yeah.
And apparently Christopher Reeve was like, don't worry, I've got you. Like, he's like literally Superman in real life to Richard Pryor.
I mean, later about to see, he's like, Richard Pryor opens up his, shirt to be like, and it's like this, but how does he know that he does that unless he knows Clark Kent is Superman?
It's really weird. And he hums the theme as well. Da, 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 da.
And then I saw this guy swinging called Spider-Man, like... Da, 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 da.
Yeah. Larry Lamb here, making his second appearance in the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, Superman. Well, I thought I'd take the bus. well, all right.
Yeah, the flying sequences for what they are really good. I just love how the camera will just like spend like so long of watching Superman take off and have it and have him leave the frame. You know.
Yeah, they still look
nowadays
great.
I'm flying. It's literally jump and he's already in the air.
Yeah. Oh, the takeoffs and landings are great. There's that bit earlier where he landed by the lake, with the when he goes to pat at the fire, and he does a little like stumble when he lands on the ground. So it's like the momentum from when he was in the air kind of carries him forward. He trips over a little bit. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So this is his exit from the film as well. This weird 9 or 10 miles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, funny enough, I think in this film, there seems to be more Superman than there does Clark. And I think in Superman 2, it's definitely more... he's more Clark Kent than he is Superman.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's the inverse.
Mm-hmm.
Clark was very confident there that she'd say yes. He turns up in a full suit. He's like, well, would you mind settling for me? Yeah, all of this is like a proper setup for them becoming a thing, isn't it? And it just doesn't happen.
Like the bit of the where she's in the Daily Planet and she and Lois are kind of eyeing each other off. It's like a bit... is there going to be a love triangle? But nope.
Yeah, and then she's just gone by Superman 4.
Yeah, because that could have been interesting. You know, Lana's in love with Clark, and Lois is in love with Superman. There could have been a really interesting love triangle there.
Yeah, that could have been really good drama. You know, comes from that, but it just doesn't. It just doesn't.
Whoa. Did she literally get spray tanned?
Yeah, I think so. I do quite like that Lois has had her own little movie to herself, though. Like, I knew I was onto something when that taxi driver kidnapped me. It's like, what the fuck? It's fun. Oh, I've just noticed as well. There's a picture of E.B. White as the president behind on the wall.
There is, yeah.
That's a nice bit of continuity I've never noticed before.
Well, in Superman 4, the president is played by Robert Beatty, who was the oil tanker in this.
Yeah.
Now, if that's the same guy, I'd think, wow, he did a lot in a few years.
He did he did very well. I can't believe this is the final bit of the film leading into the big, space shot at the end credits is a bloody bingo machine blowing up, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't believe that. Again, oh no, it isn't. Sorry, I forget. It's the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yeah, Leaning Tower of Pisa, yeah.
Even so, even so, the first film ends with Luther going to prison. Second film ends with him carrying the American flag back to the White House. This film ends with him bending the Leaning Tower of Pisa back. Sums it up.
Ciao, guys.
The double taking Italian man as well.
I can't wait for his return in the sequel, where he climbs a statue of Superman and says, "False God."
Yeah. I really hope that character gets referenced in Superman, James Gunn's one.
And funnily enough, there's no coming soon, like coming soon Superman 4 or anything like that.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't go coming soon Supergirl, because that was a year after.
That was only a year after, yeah.
Yeah. So that would have already been in, well, if not production, it certainly would have been in the early stage, well, late stages of pre-production probably. So it is weird that they didn't. Yeah, that is strange. Now, I believe it's this film that has the really elaborate end credits, which we'll see when we get to the cast, where it like comes towards the camera, and it's like, it sounds really funny, but that is an impressive effect that would be relatively difficult to do now in the digital age to get it looking right. So the fact that they did that in 1983 is kind of impressive, and it's quite, the fact that it's the end credits when most people are leaving is quite funny.
Yeah.
Also, like that John Williams gets a much bigger credit there. His name.
He does, yeah. Yeah, Superman 3. Obviously, I poke fun at it, and it does frustrate me. But yeah, I've got a bit of a soft spot for it. It's the laid back Superman film that I kind of like to watch. It
really is.
It's just a day in the life of Superman, and sometimes that's enough to recommend.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's, the first two films are great, but they are mired in their own little controversies because of the production and everything, and some of that kind of bleeds through, especially the second one. Whereas this is a much kind of like chiller watch, I find. It's very kind of low stakes. You just turn your brain off. Like I say, I have returned to this quite a bit over the last few years, and I'm quite fond of the film now. It is ridiculous. It is so stupid. And it is a massive step down in quality from the first two. I said that there. That's not me saying this is better than the first two. It's it's a lot worse. But it is good fun to watch, and I'm kind of happy that it's not as hated as it once was. It's an odd duck of a film, and I don't think I've not seen many big franchise films like it, in terms of just making the fact that it is just a full-on comedy, and a bit of a comedy skit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting film, but it's still good fun. There's only so annoyed you. There's only so much anger you can throw at a film like this. God, I forgot all those awful songs that were composed for this one as well. Just seeing all that, Jesus. But yeah, Superman 3, not without merit, I don't think.
Yeah, there's definitely merit to it, but at least it's not Superman 4.
Yeah, and speaking of, next time, what are we going to be looking at?
Well, the only way to solve this crisis is for me to become Superman 4, Quest for Peace. That's why they call it that.
Yeah, next time, folks, we're going to be doing Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, concluding this series of Superman audio commentaries for now. So look forward to us diving through that mess of a film. Should be quite entertaining. But in the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram. You can find all our other audio commentaries on this very channel. You can subscribe to Isaac's channel too. Alrighty, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.